everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Always. What do we have this time?
Well, you guys sent in some interesting stuff about the Gail Cleavenger murder that happened in Florida back in 2018. Remember that one?
Vaguely. It rings a bell. Refresh my memory.
Yeah, so we've got a couple sources lined up here, and one of them is a YouTube video, all in Spanish, which always makes things more interesting.
Right. Like, we need more mysteries to untangle. What's the other one?
This document, just straight up text, no formatting or anything. I'm thinking maybe
Oh,
it's like a police report or some court transcript someone snagged.
Ooh, primary source intrigue. Okay, so before we go full-on detective mode, what is it about this case, even years later, that people can't let go of?
That's a good question, and I think part of it is the location, right? This wasn't some dark alleyway. This happened in Volusia County, Florida. You know, famous for its natural springs and tons of wildlife and all that. Not exactly the backdrop you'd picture for a brutal murder.
It's like that contrast really gets under people's skin. That and the fact that the victim, Gail Cleavenger, she was a successful architect, raising her son on her own. It's like this case just shatters that sense of normalcy people crave.
For sure. And early on, the police were thinking this is an open and shut case, right? Just
Yeah.
a robbery gone wrong.
Right, because that's what usually happens. It's tragic, but it makes sense. But then, well, the cops start digging into Gail's son, Gregory, who was, get this, 15 at the time, and things just weren't adding up.
Hold on, 15. He was a teenager when this all went down.
Yep, 15 years old,
Mm.
and already raising red flags with the police.
What do you mean? Like, how does a 15-year-old even become a suspect in something like this? What was off about him?
Well, according to our sources, every time they asked him anything, he got super nervous. And his story kept changing, like he couldn't keep his facts straight. The cops, they pick up on that kind of stuff right away.
I'll bet. So what happened? Did he finally crack?
He did. Eventually, Gregory confessed to killing his mother.
He confessed, just like that. Okay, see, now that's what I mean about this case. It's like, boom, straight to chillin', no buildup needed. What did he even say? I mean, how does a 15-year-old... What was his excuse for something this awful?
He told him he strangled her.
Wow.
Strangled her during a fight that he says lasted for over half an hour.
A 30-minute fight. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable. And he doesn't offer any explanation. I mean, was it truly just a heated argument between a mother and her son, as he first claimed?
That's where it gets even more complicated.
Huh.
The YouTube video and the text file both mention a phone call that Gregory made right before the murder to his dad.
His dad. Why? What was the context? Was he trying to stop himself? Looking for help, maybe?
That part is murky. Neither source really goes into detail about the call itself, just that, yeah, it happened right before Gail died. Which gets tricky when you factor in what Gregory said at first about this being self-defense.
Self-defense. Come on, how does that even track, especially if he's calling his dad beforehand?
It doesn't really. And as the cops kept digging, other things popped up that didn't fit with that story. Like the Times file, and I'm pretty sure this is straight from the court stuff. It says, Gregory waited for hours after that phone call before he went anywhere near his mom. Hours, man.
So this wasn't like a spur-of-the-moment, things got out of hand situation.
Yeah.
Because that waiting, that implies he had time to think, to plan.
Exactly, and it gets worse. The text file also talks about how he tried to ditch Gail's body, drove out to some remote area, body in the car, the whole 9 yards. But then he changed his mind.
He changed his mind about what? About getting rid of her. Why even drive out there at all if he was so sure it was self-defense?
$1 million question. Could have been panic, could have been guilt, who knows.
Huh.
But whatever it was, that change of heart blew his whole plan. The cops found him because of it. But you're spot on about the thinking and planning part. This premeditated act, the attempt to hide the body. These aren't things you do when you're just defending yourself. It suggests something far more calculated.
Calculated. Man, that's a rough word to use here. But you're not wrong. Even all that, it's hard to see it any other way. So if it wasn't self-defense like he claimed at first, what set him off? The YouTube video mentions a fight about his grades, right? Is that what did it? Some teenage temper tantrum turned deadly.
That's the prevailing theory. Both sources point to it. Sounds like Gail had confronted Gregory about school shortly before all this happened. The YouTube video even uses this phrase, like, una discusión escolar, basically saying it was a typical schoolyard spat.
But, I mean, really, even if they were fighting, isn't murder a bit extreme? It's not like kids arguing with their parents about grades is anything new. I sure did, and I turned out mostly fine. Seriously, right? What kid hasn't gotten busted for bad grades? There's got to be more to this.
There is, and this is where it gets really disturbing. It wasn't just Gregory. The text file mentions 2 of his friends helped him after Gail was killed.
Wait, are you serious? Other kids were involved in this. This is nuts. Who are these friends?
Dylan and Brian, both 17 at the time. The text file says they all went to school together.
And they helped him. How? Did they even know about the murder before it happened?
It's hard to say for sure. The sources are kind of vague about those specifics. We know they helped Gregory make it look like a robbery. Remember all that stuff that was missing from Gail's house?
Yeah.
The electronics, that rifle. Sounds like that was all them. They even helped him get rid of the body.
Okay, now that's just, I don't even know what to say. To think it wasn't just one kid, but 3 of them caught up in something this awful, it's unimaginable. Helping him after the fact? Really, what were they thinking?
It's a question a lot of folks have, believe me.
Yeah.
And there might not be a good answer. But it makes you think about peer pressure. You know, the things kids do because they want to fit in or they're scared to do the right thing.
It's like their moral compass just broke. One minute it's bad grades, the next this. Yeah. Did they even feel bad about what they did?
Well, according to the text file, they all got arrested, charged, the whole bit. Gregory, he was tried as an adult, got 45 years. He could be out in 25, though, if he gets parole.
45 years? That's a long time. And he was just a kid himself when this happened. What about his friends? Did they do time, too?
They did. 30 years each. They were minors, so it wasn't quite as harsh. The text file doesn't give a ton of detail on their sentences. It's pretty fragmented. But it does say they both cooperated with the police and said they were sorry for what happened.
Yeah, but how can you ever really know if they mean it, you know? It's not like you can truly see inside someone's head, especially a scared teenager facing that kind of time. This whole thing is just so messed up. You've got this seemingly perfect setting, a normal family, and then, bam, 3 teenagers caught up in this brutal crime. It doesn't make sense. It's like looking at 2 completely different pictures that got mashed together by mistake.
You got it. It's a good reminder that we don't always know the whole story, do we? Sometimes the most messed up things are happening just beneath the surface where no one can see.
Makes you think, for sure. What could push someone to do something like this? And the worst part is, we may never really have those answers. Well, that one was heavy. Thanks for sticking with us for this deep dive. It was a tough one. What do you guys think? What questions do you still have after hearing all of this? Let's keep talking about it over on our socials. Hit us up. Let's get into it. And until next time, stay curious.